All right, so thank you too for joining us. We're glad that you could make it for this meeting. Gonna turn everything over to Steve Scrocky. Steve is our CFO, and he's going to be the person who's reviewing the critical details of the bid.
Yeah, good morning, Sherry and Gary. Thanks so much for taking the time and your interest in this bid that we have out right now for North Penn School District. This, of course, is for our property tax bill printing and mailing. Just a couple of quick introductions. You've heard from Dawn. Also on the call with us today is Ron Linke, who's the Assistant Director of Business Administration. We'll say hello, Ron.
Hey, how you doing?
And also on the call today, we have Joanna Chavez, who is critical with this whole process because she's the direct liaison here at North Penn School District with our tax collectors. So, Joanna?
Hello.
So, Sherry and Gary, this meeting is really for you to answer any questions you have, but there's a couple things, I've highlighted a couple items that are in the bid specifications I want to cover, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions. Any question that is asked today, we're going to record the question and we will post the response on our bid specification website. That way you can see what the response is. We got a question already this morning from a vendor who was unable to attend today, so I'll cover that when I go through the bid specifications. But let me get started, and hopefully you have a copy of the bid specs handy because I will refer to a page number. So I'm going to start out on page 1 and just remind you that a complete proposal package will include a bid bond or certified check for 10% of the total bid price, a completed and notarized non-collusion affidavit, which appears on pages 5 and 6 of the bid specs, a completed and notarized vendor qualification statement, that's on pages 7 and 8, and the bid proposal form, which is on pages 14 and 15. This proposal is for a 2-year period for the 23-24 tax bills as well as the 24-25 tax bills. And we do issue our bills July 1st. We're on a typical school district fiscal year of July 1st through June 30th. The proposals are due February 28th at 1 p.m., which is next Tuesday. Hard to believe next week is going to be March already, but these bids are due the 28th at 1 p.m. And we're going to do a Zoom public opening at 2:30 p.m. that same day, and we will post a link 30 minutes prior to the opening, so you're welcome to join that opening. Today is the pre-bid meeting. I'm moving on to page 2. Again, bids must be submitted on the enclosed bid proposal form, which is on pages 14 and 15. That's section 4 of page 2. All right, I'm going to jump now all the way to page 9 of the bid specifications. On page 9, we provide detail with each municipality located within North Penn School District, the number of parcels, the number of bills that we've issued for the past 5 years. Again, this can be used as a guide. There is variation each year. We can't make any promises that's going to be a certain number, but we're estimating somewhere around 35,400 to 35,500, somewhere in that ballpark. But again, we're not making any assurances that will be a certain number. We will provide the file at least 1 week prior to the required mailing date. There is, however, in the specifications, some pre-work that can be done. You know, we're not going to look to do all the bill production and proofing and formatting the very last week in June. There's certain things that can be done ahead of time. In particular, the tax bill format, the layout. We do have a date in there. We would like to work with the vendor to have that final product, that template, if you will, completed no later than May the 2nd. If we can get it done earlier, that's even better. But we're hoping that with the background formatting, if that's completed ahead of time, when we have the final data file, it's really just populating the final millage and so forth at that point in time.
Do you have a copy of the background, the shell?
I'm sorry, Gary, can you say that again?
Do you have a copy of a PDF, a high-res PDF of what the form itself looks like?
So on attachment B, which is on page 17 of the bid specs, Gary,
Correct.
that's a sample of a copy from this most recent year, or July 2022 bills. That's not necessarily the be all end all. That seems to work, but if your company is a successful vendor, we'll work with you. If you have different ideas, we're certainly open to those. I think our goal is whatever format we agree to, we'd like to have that format finalized by the beginning of May.
Yes, my question was more, do you have a blank one that you would supply, or do we have to typeset the whole thing start to finish?
You would do that part.
So I would have to include the typesetting of the whole form in my bid.
Yes.
Okay. I was skimming through to make sure of a few different things in regards to what is supplied or not. On this, I don't see where potentially there's a perforation between pieces. Is there anything that separates the three pieces?
I thought it did mention that.
Okay, I may have overlooked it, and that's
Yeah.
I apologize for that, but that's.
I know I read it somewhere. I'm just looking through the bid specs. Anybody on my team know exactly where that's at?
I'm looking now to see if I see it.
Gary, we'll look for that to find out what exact page that's on, okay?
All right, and this is all prints in black ink, correct?
Yes.
It just states in our bid specifications that the tax bills may be printed on plain paper with 3 equal folds. It does not say it has to be perforated.
Okay.
Okay, so that tells me there is no perf or no separations. It looks, what I'm looking at without any type of layout marks, I just assume because there's 3 equal things, one is the top of the mailing panel, the other 2 potentially will be torn off and mailed back in or kept in some way, shape, or form. I just want to make sure.
Okay, and page 10, Gary, has about the bills being printed in black ink.
That's correct. I did run across that earlier. I didn't see anything about an envelope.
That's
Maybe I missed it.
That's definitely in there. I think it's an option of, I think we mentioned about the pressure seal or an envelope.
On page 10, 3B.
Do you have artwork for that envelope? What was mailed out this year?
We do not have a sample of that artwork. Generally, it's what it states has to be printed on the bill in that same section.
He's asking about the envelope though.
No, I understand that. In 10B though, it tells you, it has the tax collector's return address on it, and it says taxable enclosed and temp return service requested. Those are the things that have to be on there. But we do not have a sample of that.
And tax collector's return address is what? Is that the 401 East Hancock?
No.
No, each one has a different bill.
There's 10 collectors.
9.
So it's the information in your page 17, attachment B, Culpsville, Pennsylvania. That would be the address
For that particular collector.
So it's specific to each individual. So essentially a double window is what you're looking at. Okay.
May I ask, were the samples that you used, these samples that are in the bid specs that you used last year, was that done on a pressure seal form or was that done in a window envelope?
I believe it was a window envelope. I don't think they were pressure sealed for any of them. Okay, a couple other sections I just want to point out, and then we'll continue with the questions, but I would like to refer you to page 12. At the top of page 12, section 2, the postage for the mailing of the bills. We obviously are going to reimburse based on actual cost. We will do a prepay, so you're not fronting the full amount of the postage. We will prepay an estimated postage amount, and then we'll do a reconciliation when we have the final cost. On page 13, at the top of page 13, there is a penalty clause in the proposal. It's really critical that the bills be mailed by June 30th. We want them in the hands of the taxpayers as in the early part of July as possible. But if the tax bills are not mailed on time, there will be a $1,000 per day penalty until mailed, excluding Sundays. Also, when we sign off on the final proof, if for whatever reason something changes from the time we do the final proof to the time the bills are mailed, at that point it would be a vendor error. And there's another penalty for that. It'll be 50% of the total contract cost will be the penalty. And the vendor will, if there's errors on the bills, the vendor will need to send out revised bills at their cost of postage. But there will be a 50% of the contract will be the penalty for erroneous bills that are sent out. I'm trying to envision why that would ever happen. Quite honestly, I can't think of a reason why that would happen. We're signing off on a final proof and then changes are made subsequent to that. That's where that portion of the penalty would come in. Okay, we are looking at two double-sided pages. The first page would be the tax bill itself. The second page, which would be the reverse, the backside of that first page would be bill instructions from the tax collector. On the second piece of paper, on the front, there'll be North Penn School District specific information. For example, there'll be information. We have a school district real estate tax rebate program here at North Penn. There'll be information about that. There'll be information about installments. And then on the fourth page, which is the backside of the second piece of paper, that's yet to be determined. That might be additional specific tax collector information. But your proposal should be based on two double-sided pages. So on the bid proposal form, we are going to do a clarification amendment. On page 15, on the bid proposal form, right now it says on the third column of that bid proposal form, it says the cost per bill with 4 inserts, or I should say with inserts, maximum of 4 double-sided pages. That should read maximum of 2 double-sided pages.
So on those 4 sides, the 2 sheets double-sided, the only thing that is specific to the address is the front of page 1. The other 3 are generic, correct?
No, the back of page 1 will also be specific to the tax collector. And the back of page 2 could be specific to the tax collector. The only thing that will be generic will be the front side of the second page. That'll be the same for everyone.
Okay.
Okay, we do anticipate having our school board take official action on the recommended vendor on Thursday, March 16th at our regularly scheduled school board meeting. So that concludes some of the general comments I wanted to make. So Sherry, Gary, what other questions do you have?
One question I have, we have bid this in the past and came as the lowest bidder, but what type of experience will you folks be looking for?
Well, obviously doing this work in Pennsylvania is preferred. So previous history, include references. That's great. We want to make sure that you have a proven track record of doing this work in the past, that you understand some certain specific Pennsylvania things like the homestead exemption as an example. So I think from my perspective, that's really critical.
Okay.
And of course, we do reserve the right to, if we are going to award the bid will be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder. Or we have the option just to reject the bids completely. That's also an option that we have. And we don't need to have a reason for that in particular. But if we are going to award the bid will be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder.
All right, so you're looking for in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania experience, because I have a wealth of knowledge and experience in regards to tax collection mailings in Ohio and a few other states, but you're looking specifically for Pennsylvania.
That's our preference, Gary, yes. Now, to say that, if you have no Pennsylvania experience, we have nothing in our bid that says you're going to be disqualified if you have no Pennsylvania experience. But that is our preference.
Okay, I will pass this along. It was a question raised by somebody who couldn't make the meeting today, and since we were the low bidder previously, but because of not having Pennsylvania experience, it did not go out for. We did not do the work, and we just
Gary,
want to make sure.
Not only were you the low bidder last year, my recollection is your company was the only bidder.
Okay.
Which presents its own set of issues, and that's why we rejected the bids last year.
Because you only had one.
Right.
Okay.
So I don't have a lot of questions. We have reviewed the bid previously as well. I guess the one clarification that I want to make is that although it's presented as a print service bid, you're also looking for the software behind the calculation and presentation of the information. So you're going to provide a file of properties, and of course the millage and the homestead information, but the software would have to do the calculations of discount flat penalty, installment 1 through 6, whatever. Is that correct? So you are looking for that front end software component as well.
Right. And however, like this gets into somewhat of means and methods, which we don't want to get involved with. How the vendor is able to, generate that final product, we're not going to dictate that. But you're right. I mean, unless somebody's going to go through a massive number of properties and do a hand calculation. I mean, if that's what a vendor wants to do, have at it.
Right.
But yeah, in all likelihood, Sherry, you're right. For 35,000 plus bills, that there has to be some sort of software program behind that to be able to generate the tax bill with the discount penalty and flat and the homestead. Absolutely. Now, one thing we're not looking for, this is a separate discussion, but not part of this bid. If there is a software program for the actual collection of the bills, again, that's not part of this bid. But that's a separate conversation I'm willing to have, because I think ideally, if we could have all of our tax collectors utilizing the same software system, like happens in Berks County as an example for the elected tax collectors in Berks County, I think that would be the ideal. Here, we don't have that. We have a varied set of solutions here with our 9 elected tax collectors. It's either 2 or 3 systems, I think, that we have among the 9. So if everybody was on the same platform, I think that would be great. If everybody in the entire county would be on the platform, that would be even one step better. But that's not what we're looking for here. But I am definitely open to that conversation as a separate conversation.
Right. And I wasn't going to bring that up. I get that part. I was more concerned about the file that the printer receives is raw data. It's not, pre-cast with the calculated discount, flat, penalty, and installment amounts that you have to actually still do the calculation. So then my next question about the calculation, is there anything unique that we might not be seeing on the sample? Like, do you round to the nearest dollar on your calculations or anything like that?
Yeah, the only rounding, let me start with installments first off, which that's unique here. We have 6 installments here at North Penn School District. That started during the pandemic. Prior to that, we had 3 installments. So this is an annual decision our school board makes each year. And we've been able to attract more people with installment payments now that we have 6 and it's spread out over a 6-month period. Whereas previously we had 3 installments and the 3rd installment had to be paid by the end of October, I think, right, Dawn? The end of October. And of course, the individual lost any kind of discount. They were, had to make their first payment in by July, a third of the payment, and then they lost their 2% discount. I mean, intuitively, it just didn't make any sense. It wasn't a smart financial decision for anyone to use installments. But now that it's spread out over 6 months, that's a little more appealing, even though you still lose a 2% discount. It might help with cash flow depending on the household. So I anticipate our board will continue to stay with the 6, but that will be part of the budget process when they make that decision. So for the rounding, we don't round to the nearest dollar. Everything is rounded to the nearest cent. I think in the specifications we ask, it gets a little tricky for the installments that, it doesn't necessarily, it won't work necessarily for the full amount with 6 installments. There may need to be some rounding. We're asking that to be done on the first installment. It's typically like, I don't know, maybe 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents. It's typically not any more than a couple cents. That rounding or the adjustment, I should say, occur on the first installment, and then installments 2 through 6 are identical.
Okay, great. So that great lead in to my next question, which is installments. So obviously the bill itself only has 1 coupon per se. So what do you provide to those who elect installments? Do they get a subsequent set of installment coupons to return with each of their payments, or how do you handle the installment payments?
Joanne, I'm gonna have to ask for your help on this. When they mailed out, when somebody elected the first installment, were they mailing them out monthly, or did they do 2 through 6 in one mailing?
I believe they did 2 through 6, one mailing.
And is that something that you're doing in-house and not a component of this bid then, or is that a second piece that we would need to be prepared to print?
I think all the tax collectors mail them out themselves.
Okay.
But Sherry, that's a good question. That would be one additional mailing, one additional envelope. We may ask for a number for that. So we may include that in as part of our addendum that we're going to do. Just so we have a number. That'll be like an alternate to the bid. to mail installments 2 through 6 with an envelope, of course.
Okay.
Because I think, depending on which tax collector you talk to here, for some, it's no big deal. For others, it is a big deal.
Are they responsible for the postage then for those follow-up mailings?
Now, we reimburse our tax collectors for.
Okay,
They get paid for.
okay. Okay. I mean, Ron, you worked in Berks County, so you probably remember that we do one follow-up mailing for everybody that elects installments. They get, a follow-up with all the coupons on it. So you pay the postage once and then you hope they make the payments after that. So, okay. Thinking if I have any other questions. So you said that the tax collection component is a separate, conversation, and that's fine. Does the printer have to provide a file of the calculated information, like the duplicate, in
Yes.
file format so that they can load it into their whatever varying collection systems that they're using? Is that part of the printer's responsibility, or?
Yes, I'm looking for the section in the specs that talks
Oh,
about that.
maybe I missed that.
Yeah, it's somewhere in here. We have the PDF format on page 11, tax duplicate. The vendor will provide a real estate tax duplicate in searchable PDF for each municipality in parcel number order. Examples are in attachment A. Also, a copy of all tax bills in PDF format for each municipality.
Oh, right. The PDFs aren't, I mean, that's not a problem. I was just wondering if there was a specific file format for the data itself, the post, calculated data.
For the upload into their system.
Right, right.
We'll clarify that, Sherry, with our Q&A, okay?
Sure. And you mentioned about doing 6 installments. Has there, and you said that's something that they vote on every year, they decide on every year. Have you given consideration to doing like maybe 4 installments, but giving them till December 31st to make those installments, as opposed to the 6 that have to be sent every month?
Yeah, we haven't talked about that, but that's an option. I think our only statutory requirement is that there's a minimum of 3.
Mhm.
So it could be 4. I think the critical thing is that it's spread through the end of December, I think from our board's perspective. So I think that's the critical piece, but is there, in your view, is there an advantage to having 4 as opposed to 6?
I just know that that's kind of the common denominator across the clients that we're serving. Most are doing 3 or 4. I think they find that they have better success with them making fewer payments, but still having that length of time to pay them. And it's less work on the collector, to have to process those. The only thing is it doesn't get you as much of your money as quickly, I guess, because if you're spreading it out over six payments. It's a little, you're getting the money in fewer chunks, but, I mean, we don't do anybody that does, we haven't served anybody that has 6 installments. Even during COVID, we didn't go there. So,
We'll
was
take
just-
that into consideration.
just a consideration that, I didn't know if that was something that you had ever tossed around as opposed to, still having the October 31st deadline and losing the discount. So what's the benefit? I can just wait till October 31st and pay the whole amount in the flat, right? So
What are, with the 4, Sherry, when are they with the clients you have now? When are each of the 4 due typically?
it varies. I think predominantly people will make the first installment due about 6 weeks out. So I'm going to say like August 15th. And then they do it however many, I think the last one is due December 31st. Or maybe they make it December 15th. Not sure about that. But yeah, they kind of spread it out every 2 months, I think. But the first one is at least 6 weeks. Like they give them at least 6 weeks, because then so now I'm talking about the way we do it, but we need that turnaround time to then say, okay, now we need to go generate these installment coupons for everybody that has elected installments. So that takes, a week for us to process those and get them mailed out. So people don't even have their second coupon yet. We found if they make it any sooner than 6 weeks, then to turn around and get them a coupon for the next mailing, it's just not timely enough. Now, maybe your collectors are, as soon as that installment comes in, they're sending out the next coupon or the bundle of coupons. We don't, obviously we're waiting until that first installment due date. And then we're saying, okay, everybody generate coupons for everybody that elected installments. So it's just a little different when you're doing it in bulk than when you're doing it, by each collector handling it.
I did hear from some of our collectors, with the way the mail system has been lately, like our first installment was due July 30th, and some, don't arrive to the tax office, even though they're postmarked by 7:30. They arrive at the tax collector's office, let's say August 10th. So they get that payment and that installment payment, and now they have to mail them installment coupons 2 through 6. Well, that might not reach them now until August 25th, let's say. And now they have that installment that's due right away on the 31st of
Yep.
August.
Which is exactly why we've spread them out over 4, because that seemed to be all that would work as far as, postage, turnaround, sometimes, even the July 1 bills, we can mail them June 25th and they might not get them till July 6th. So it's hard to say.
Okay, we'll take that under consideration now.
Yeah, just a sidebar.
We won't know the answer to that probably until May. That's typically when they approve the resolution for installments. Or at
Okay.
least we have a conversation about it in May. They might not do that until they do the budget resolution in June, but I know we talk about it in May.
And I would also just inquire about the 2 pages. So, what did you say was on the second page? Some of it is a notice.
So the second page, we did have a prototype for that. Dawn, maybe we should throw that out there too on the website, because we had information about a section about installments. We had a section about we have a rebate program here at North Penn where if individuals apply and receive the Pennsylvania property tax and rent rebate program, they can get a rebate from us as well. So that was probably at least a third, if not more, of that page. And then some tax collectors do like additional information specific to them. So that would be really the fourth page, the back side of the second piece of paper. The front side of that second piece of paper would be North Penn specific information, and that we can have finalized pretty early, like in April sometime. The back side of that would be tax collector specific information. And we have one tax collector, for example, that always did her own insert. That was specific to her. She did some special hours for some retirement community. So we would allow them, if we're doing two pieces of paper already, allow them to do that reverse side of the page too.
Okay. That gets tricky if you are using a pressure sealed form. I mean, the inserts aren't a great thing with a pressure sealed form. So just a question.
They're better designed just for a one-page tax bill, I suppose, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, other questions?
Would you be able to supply a generic sample of the data that you would be pushing out for my data team to review actual?
Joanna, what do we have? Like what we get from the county, Gary, you mean?
Whatever you would be supplying approximately the week prior to mailing by the middle of June, if you're going to be sending a file from your system so that we know where everything lands, what style of file it is. Is it a delimited file? Is it a CSV? What type of information would you be supplying? And then what is the layout? What's the data record saying the first so many spaces would populate in this area, that type of information. I didn't see any of that in the bid, and I was just wondering if it's something that I could give to my data manager to have her look at and calculate a time.
Okay, yeah, Joanna, we get all that from the county, right? We can pick a municipality. Do you know what the file layout is or the format is offhand?
I think it's text delimited. I have to look.
Okay. Yeah, it just tells us how much time and then the building blocks initially.
Okay, we'll email that.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I don't think I have any others.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We appreciate the conversation. We appreciate your insight for some of the things that we need to consider. We'll try to get the addendum out by dawn. We can talk after this meeting by tomorrow maybe, or Thursday at the latest. We'll do the Q&A. We'll post that on the website as well. We'll send out the sample file from one of our municipalities for from the county for the printing of the bills. And if you have any other questions, email them to Dawn. That information is listed on the bid specifications at the bottom of page 1. It's the npprocure@npenn.org site, or email address, I should say. And any question that gets asked, we'll post on the website as well, the response on the website.
And will that data be supplied email, or would we have to go to your website?
Website. The only thing I envision us emailing you, Gary, would be that county file that we get.
Right, that's what I was referencing. Thank you.
Yeah, but that one we'll email. So again, just two addendums that we know are going to happen on the bid proposal form. The cost per bill with inserts, that's going to be a maximum of 2 double-sided pages. So your bid response needs to be based on that. And then we're going to throw in an alternate for the printing and mailing of installments 2 through whatever, 2 through 4, 2 through 6. And that would be just at 1 second mailing then. That would be an add alternate. And to give you an idea for that, you know, I'd say in the past 2 years, when we went to 6 installments, we have roughly 7% of the total bills that are paid via installment, just to give you an idea what that count might be. Okay, that varies by municipality, but just in general, around 7%.
Okay.
Okay,
Very good.
thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to your proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
You.